Special as I was actually the first winner of the Bocas Litfest Youth Writer Award. So today we are going to find out who is the winner for this year, 2023. I had to make sure I always forget what year we're in, because to me 2021 barely happened. So, of course, it's all about recognizing talent when it comes to the literary arts, particularly within the youth. And I must say, no bias, not because they gave me $5,000 2 years ago, but I think that the Bocas Litfest is really, really tremendous at recognizing talent among the youth. And I must say that that is the reason I'm the person I am today. I don't know if I would have gotten into the university I got into if I did not have a resume filled with Bocas and 2 cents things. So, as we begin today, let us acknowledge some of the special guests that we have within our intimate audience and everybody who's going to speak. We have with us Lawrence R. June, who is a member of the Board of Directors at the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago. We have, of course, our other NGC Bocas Youth Fest sponsors and partners, and some colleagues from the University of the West Indies, who have very graciously hosted us for the last 2 days. We have the judges of the 2023 NGC Bocas Youth Fest Youth Writer Award. We have writers, readers, friends, and volunteers, members of the media, and of course, everybody who is on the festival live stream. Everybody just wave at them very quickly. So as we get started today, we are going to invite Marielle Forbes, the Youth and Hospitality Manager at the Bocas Litfest, who is going to give you some words of greeting. Let's welcome her.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not as tall as Harmony is, even though I think she's wearing about 6 inches on her shoes. Okay, welcome, everyone. It's nice to see all of you here. It is my honor to welcome you this evening as we recognize and celebrate our young Trinbagonian literary talent. In 2021, we hosted our very first NGC Bocas Youth Fest. This was an entirely virtual festival and the only one of its kind, the only literary festival for youth in Trinidad and Tobago. Over the past 2 years, the festival has featured events such as the Author Access Pass, our festival favorite, the Big Idea Debate, which we just hosted in the same room, and many writing and creative workshops. In 2022, Rawia Hossain emerged as the Youth Writer of the Year. This groundbreaking intergenre award celebrates young writers from across Trinidad and Tobago. And this year, we saw several entries and submissions from across 7 genres: poetry, fiction, blogging, script writing, creative nonfiction, and spoken word. Over the course of 3 months, our 4 judges, Julie Harris, Kyle Hernandez, Brits McHugh, and head judge Celeste Mohammed, read and deliberated over submissions across these genres. Our title sponsor, the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, continues to provide encouragement through the sponsorship of this prize for the advancement of our country's youth in the literary and creative arts field. We are thrilled to be here with all of you today to celebrate the work of these promising young writers. Hats off to all the nominees for their absolute bravery in allowing your work to be reviewed and critiqued, sharing a healthy competition space with your contemporaries. I'm happy to see some of you here today, and I hope you take this opportunity to exchange a few words with each other. I'm certain we will continue to see your names making headlines from the newspapers to festivals. We are honored to celebrate this moment with you and can't wait to see your work continue to progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marielle. Also mentioning that when the award first started off, it was completely virtual. I didn't have no ceremony and thing. I get to wear heels. Them send me my direct deposit, and I say thanks, and I had a little thing in the newspapers. So it's nice that we get to be here together and smile and shake hands and break bread if there's food afterwards. Thank you, Marielle. Next, we are going to invite the CEO of the Bocas Lit Fest, Mr. Jean-Claude Kuna, who is going to tell us a bit about why the Youth Writer Award is so important and, of course, how it fits into Bocas Lit Fest's broad-ranging array of programs. Thank you, Jean-Claude. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Special greetings to NGC, who has been our loyal funder, our partner in making this award happen. Honorable judges, thank you. Ms. Julie Harris. Just so many beautiful faces and people who have supported the work of Bocas Lit Fest. This award is important because Bocas Lit Fest is a development organization working in a developing country, in a developing region. And, you know, where we are, where our culture is at present is at a beautiful place, but there's so much more that we envision for ourselves as people of Trinidad and Tobago and as Caribbean people. And to do development work, you have to start with the seed. You know, it's often very beautiful to hear people talk about how organized foreign nations are and why we want to go to them, without forgetting the days where these were barbaric places. I remember crawling in a tunnel in Yorkshire where children were working in mines and being surprised that this country that I want to go to study, England, once thought that children working in mines was a great idea, right? And, you know, we come so far from there to now that, you know, sometimes we look at our journey and we are a bit frustrated with where Trinidad is and the journey that we have to take. But tonight and awards like this is actually how we get to the next step, the next stage. This is where we honor and recognize young people who are underappreciated, undervalued, young people who are seeking to be heard. We take a lens, we shine attention on them, we give them a platform, and more importantly, we also contribute resources so that they know that culture is not just something that, you know, you get a pat on your back and people clap, but you can make a living from it. We want this award to incentivize people to earn livelihoods in the literary industry. So this is the work of Bocas Lit Fest. Bocas Lit Fest, when it started in 2011 to now, there have been a number of people who came through as workshop participants, and today they have won awards. And we want this platform to be one of those beautiful stories where people could say, you know, I was here at the NGC Bocas Lit Fest Youth Writer of the Year Award, and look at me today. And we could tell our story and have something to pass down. Just want to leave you all one more story. Recently, I was in a small city in Italy, in a part of Italy called Umbria, and on a random night, I went into this small town, and on that night, they were having a traditional arts or traditional crafts market. So as I walked through, there were like candle makers, people wearing armor, and the tradition of making armor, the tradition of making swords. And I saw, you know, people doing these ancient crafts, you know, actually doing it. And everybody was dressed in medieval garb, right? In fact, there was actually this sword fight that almost took place. And it's a true story, like they dramatized what it was to be in a medieval environment. I remember being so shocked. It wasn't a town that had a lot of tourists, so I wasn't hearing like American accents and any Trini accents at all, but it was Italian people in a small Italian town valuing an Italian tradition and keeping that tradition alive through a festival and really, really engrossed by their traditions. So a part of this work is also about us recognizing our traditions, the traditions that are sacred, our literary arts. And in particular, this award is very special because this is one award where, for us, we define tradition more broadly than just publishing a book or writing a poem. This award recognizes spoken word poetry, journalism, all forms of writing that we Caribbean people embark upon. So this is an opportunity for us to cherish our craft, to cherish our people, cherish our people's voices. And this is not an auxiliary part of Bocas Lit Fest. This is the core of what we are and what we will be doing as we move forward. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for being here and for supporting this. And I hope that one day you can look back and smile on this day as you see the winner from today go on to great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean-Claude. As I talk about recognizing youth talent, before and probably even now, before Jean-Claude was the CEO of Bocas, he's the kind of person who will call people, parents, and say, "Hi, your child have real talent. She could come to this thing." And it's that groundwork that really builds something like this. And as I said, I can't stop talking about it. Build somebody like me going in Tobago every week and teaching spoken word with the Ministry of Youth Development. So these things blossom and grow into different things, into the Youth Writer Award and what brings us here today. So the NGC Bocas Youth Writer Award presentation is the culminating event of the 2023 NGC Bocas Youth Fest, running over the past 2 days here at the Department of Creative and Festival Arts. Yesterday and today, hundreds of young people participated in performances and workshops, a career fair, the NGC Bocas Youth Debate, and more. It had so many school children in here yesterday, it was hot. All this is possible due to the support of our title sponsor of the Youth Fest and the Youth Writer Award, the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago. Please welcome Lawrence Arjun, member of NGC's Board of Directors, here to speak on behalf of the title sponsor.
Thank you very much, Harmony, and good evening, everyone. I particularly like how Jean-Claude spoke about what came across to me as shaping our destiny. It's something that we hear a lot about these days, and I'm very happy that that is the direction that the NGC Bocas Youth Fest is going in. Because there is plenty that we are worried about as a people, and there's plenty that young people in particular are worried about. Can we avert the climate crisis? Are we going to have enough food to feed the growing population? Can we really achieve economic freedom for everyone? Will the West Indies find form ahead of the T20 World Cup? Yes, because you have faith and you believe. That's important. That's important because these are all valid concerns that I know keep us up at night. Clearly keeps Mariel up at night. 2, but while there is a lot of uncertainty about the future, I think we should have zero fears about the capability of the next generation to take on the challenges that lie ahead. And when I say that with conviction, because of what we have seen, especially happening at the NGC Bocas Youth Festival. Now, some people may ask, definitely not the people in this room, but some people may ask, what can the young literati give us as a hope for the future? It's really simple. Because young people and young writers in particular are not just entertainers or artists. They're not just storytellers or wordsmiths. Even through fiction, writers can be educators, activists, influencers. Writers can be peacemakers or warmongers if they choose. Writers shape culture, they shape belief, They tell our stories of us as a people, where we've come from, who we are, and what we want to be. They can seed and spread ideas that start revolutions. They can inspire people to change the world or to change a life. So on that basis, if we have strong and capable writers, there's so much that we can achieve. A pen in the hand of a gifted writer can be a powerful instrument of change, an enabler of progress. This is why we at the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, NGC, have seen the economic, cultural, and social value of supporting the literary arts. However, with the introduction of the NGC Bocas Youth Fest, we see another greater dimension of impact. We see the future being incubated, not just of Caribbean literature, but of Caribbean society and of us as Caribbean people. We see this as a platform to support the creatives, of course, but also young leaders and change makers. And of course, we see the NGC Bocas Youth Fest Writer Award as an opportunity within that festival to recognize a standout voice from among the lot. Today, while we are proud to confer this award on this deserving winner, we also want to celebrate the achievements of all the nominees and the wider pool of emerging writers we are meeting through the NGC Bocas Youth Fest. Your voices, your messages, your passions, and your perspectives are what is the cause for optimism. We don't need to worry about tomorrow when we see the writers we have here with us today. They are proof that the future is bright. So, ladies and gentlemen, this evening belongs to the writers. I offer my congratulations to the winner of this year's NGC Bocas Youth Writer Award, and my gratitude and appreciation on behalf of the entire NGC team to the Bocas Lit Fest team for what has truly been a great partnership. Thank you for the opportunity. Keep up the excellent work, and good evening, everyone.
Many thanks to Lawrence Arjun and the corporate sustainability team at NGC for their long-term support and enthusiasm for the work of the Bocas Lit Fest. And now to the real highlights of why we are all here today, the 3 young authors shortlisted for the 2023 NGC Bocas Lit Fest Youth Writer Award. As we have mentioned, this award is open to Trinidad and Tobago writers aged 25 and under. That means I'm 1 year older than being a youth. In multiple genres, from fiction and poetry, spoken word and drama, journalism, blogging, screenwriting, song lyrics, and more. This year, the judges for the award chose 3 writers for the shortlist, all of them passionate about words and ideas and using their voice for change. The 3 writers are all here with us this afternoon, and all of us now have the wonderful opportunity to hear them present excerpts of their work. They will come up in alphabetical order, and I'll introduce them one at a time. First is Kayla Roberts, 24-year-old writer, blogger, and aspiring editor from South Trinidad, who says that she has been inspired and driven to work within TNT's literary community. Writing is more of a vocation than a hobby for me, she says. Please welcome her as she comes to share some vocation with us.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so today I have chosen one of my creative nonfiction pieces to read for you. It's called What Climate Change, actually, that's what the title they gave it. It's actually called Climate Change and the Question of Meaning. Here we go. As I sit here to write this, the humor of the situation washes over me. What does climate change mean to you? They ask. They also often ask, as a young person, how do you feel about climate change? It seems to be a common prompt amongst think tanks and in conferences on the issue. All the United Nations dialogues, all the posturing, question asking, and promises, it's humorous. Because I know that, in the end, those in power will drag their feet, dragging us along with them. How do you feel about climate change? What does it mean to you? Feels like an insulting question at this point. Almost as though someone just slapped me across the face and then asked me, delicately, charmingly, how do you feel about getting slapped? However, in the interest of catharsis, in the interest of that release you feel when you scream, I will tell you, this piece will be my scream into the void of the eyes and ears of all who read and hear it. They may not be an echo. They may not be a response. It may not register, but all I have is this scream. This is what climate change means to me. It is almost like a background noise, a low hum, a buzz. I would turn on a television, read the newspaper, scroll on my social media, and I would see it. It's there, the hum of disaster, the thump of apocalypse. I would see my peers, people from my generation, talking humorously about the end of the world. It isn't coming from a place of apathy. It's more like the kind of humor you use when there is nothing else left to feel, when crying and rage melt away to absurdity, and all you can really do is laugh, because what else can we really do? There's this wave of information, pings and clicks and dings, all noisily telling us about the problems of the world that, without this new advent of technology, we would not even know about. More than ever before, we see how interconnected the disasters of the world are. We can't look away from the fires of Australia because of the floods of India or the oil spills of Mexico. There's no avenue to escape. Our tools of escapism throw us right into the melee of cataclysmic headlines and information. This is what it is living as a young person in the 21st century, being bombarded with extremes, disaster, futile distractions, pain, and humor, a twisted mix that forces you into the realm of desensitivity. Knowing that Greece, Turkey, the Amazon, California, and the Gulf of Mexico is on fire does something to the young mind that most other forms of bombardment can't. It sinks it into nihilism. Nihilism is the darkest form of perception, and to me, the most dangerous. Bombastic headline after bombastic headline, another blow to the spirit of hope, another too late, we have passed the limit. As a Caribbean girl, I detest this type of headline. All it does is exhaust us, add to our nihilism, and nihilism is counterproductive. It is lazy. It is giving up. And it takes away the color and the beauty of purpose and replaces it with a gray meaninglessness. There is no point to action, there is no point, and it is all meaningless because it is all being destroyed. Many young people in the region feel this way. It is a response to powerlessness. It is a response to not being heard. It is a response to our futures being devalued by the persons with the power to ensure it. The first thing climate change means to me is nihilism, painful and bleak. When my peers and I talk about our futures, we never think too far ahead. 10 years, maybe 15. And then it starts to look hazy. The crystal ball of our minds starts to get filled with a smoke. The distant future is unclear, which makes planning anything useless. We always talk about the possibility of children and how selfish it would be to want to have them when we know that resources might be scarce due to emerging food and water security threats. When we talk about houses, how flooding might affect certain areas, and what the heat might be like, and how air conditioning might be a good option, but it might be selfish because it would add to the energy problem. We talk about jobs, job security. We talk about the weather in the islands, how it might get extreme, how hurricanes and the rainy season might make living in some places nearly impossible for half the year. We plan around the apocalypse. Sometimes we comfort ourselves by thinking it might be further off than we think. And nonetheless, we plan around it. It is normalized. Assuming the future might not be here. Assuming the planet might not be what we know it is. It is ridiculous to think about. It's strange, this kind of normalcy. When you think of the end of things, the fall of empires, the end of ages, you imagine it to be one swift action, one great tumble, a war that ends all wars, an atom bomb explosion, here 1 minute, gone the next. What I'm realizing is that the opposite is usually true. Things fall apart, but gradually. It is the classic frog in a boiling water metaphor. You acclimatize until you can't anymore, and by then it's too late. We live in an era of things falling apart, and we press on and plan anyway, knowing that former generations never had to ponder the future of humanity like this is jarring. For them, there was no planning around the apocalypse. There was just the clarity of promise of their youth. Climate change means that the future is foggy, smoke-filled, and too dark to see clearly. When I think about climate change, there isn't only stoic nihilism or the preparation for the end. There is also a blistering, scorching fury. You would scroll on social media and see a press release from the president of a developed Northern Hemisphere country saying that someone should do something about climate change. It feels like a sketch, and not a funny one. The rage that I feel when I think about what is being done to the planet, the rage that I feel when I see hurricanes batter my region and batter my people, the fury, my God, the fury, it is hard to describe. Fury is a second response to powerlessness. It manifests itself internally. It is not loud and physical as yet, but you can see it in the comment sections of the political leaders of the world when they make their baseless, empty, fast statements about how someone should do something, while they sit on the mountains of money and power required to actually get that something done. You can see the comments lambasting them, questioning their apathy, but the rage hasn't become physical and active, not yet. I believe my generation will eventually make it so. Because when I see images of koalas being burnt alive or children being swept by monsoons, followed by the promises of climate action tumbling aimlessly from the lips of those with political and economic power who assume they will be gone before the destruction hits, I can't help but feel an insatiable tempest within me. Greta Thunberg's famous "How dare you" cannot begin to encapsulate what her generation, our generation, truly feels towards all of this. But it's a start. Being held responsible, being told to drink through paper straws and carpool and take off our lights that are run on fossil fuels, that are privately owned and government-backed, feels like an insult. How could they ask this of us? How could you ask us to shoulder the weight of the world that you are paid so handsomely to protect? It feels uniquely cruel that so much power is kept from us, yet so much is expected of us. The rage of the youth isn't unique to our generation, but the cataclysms and information at our disposal is. The connectedness is. And those factors make for a distinct kind of firmament, one born in a powerlessness that I would hope one day erupts into righteous ignition. Climate change to me means rage. I think about our region. I think about my own country, Trinidad and Tobago, and I worry about our stagnation in the midst of all of this. As a region, we are heavily dependent on fossil fuels. Trinidad and Tobago specifically has no plans to restructure our economy or pivot away from natural gas and oil exploration and production anytime soon. It feels sort of surreal to live in a country, a region, where leadership seems to be stuck in a time loop from the 1970s. It feels surreal to watch leadership hold on to the bones of prosperity past. failing to see how the world, the planet, is leaving us behind, the light of progression getting dimmer as we settle for the comfort and familiarity of darkness. There are no attempts to change our direction economically or within the energy sector, with Trinidad aiming to resume its natural gas productions to pre-COVID levels. And I wonder if leadership is even aware of climate change and how vulnerable we are to its effects as both a small island state and a developing country. Of course, they are aware. It is more an issue of caring and having foresight to think beyond what barely keeps us economically alive right now that seems to be lacking. Writhing under the effects of COVID and economic hits we have taken, I see a precarious future for both Trinidad and Tobago and the region at large with respect to the climate issue if foresight is not found. Eventually, I would hope that the world will pivot away from the burning of fossil fuels, possibly too late, but eventually it will happen. And what then for the oil-slicked economy of TNT? Do we even plan for that reality? And even before then, with increasing weather anomalies due to the warming temperatures, with more destructive hurricanes battering the windwards, what will become of our white sandy beach reputation, our tourism-backed economies? What will be left of these beaches but tattered remains, debris, and millions in damage to be fixed, only to prepare for the worst again? Climate change means the destruction of our economies, insecurity of our nation and region's futures. To me, apathy around it is unpatriotic. It's treasonous. I'm left with this bundle of feeling, this flow of torrid emotion. I know that the solution would involve a world that is drastically different to the one I grew up in, the one my parents and their parents grew up in, but one we have been in before. For most of humanity's infancy on this age-old planet, we as a species have survived without the systems of energy production and pollution we presently have. And as a collective, we can be creative enough to find ways to survive without them again. As a young person from the Caribbean, you ask me what I feel, and I tell you I feel everything. We feel everything. We feel hopelessness at the inactions of our leaders, but hope in our own ability to consider our own future. We feel humor at the absurdity of it all, at the call to action by those who sit in overfed and happy catatonia with the actual power to act. We feel cold suspense for the future. Sacrifice seems necessary. But most importantly, we feel rage. Rage. Rage against the institutions that have failed us. Rage at the people elected to protect us and to secure our futures, prioritizing quick money over us. Rage at short-sightedness, at selfishness, and at greed. This is what it is. This is what being a Caribbean youth in the climate crisis means. This is my scream. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kayla. The second shortlisted writer is Selena Samuel, a 20-year-old blogger, journalist, and literature and communication student right here at UWI, who says that she enjoys delving into Caribbean art and culture in her writing. Let's welcome Selena.
Good evening. I'm very short. Good evening, everyone. It is absolutely my pleasure to read just a few paragraphs of my article called The Essence of Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago. Who excited for Carnival 2024? Okay, so it starts like this. What comes to mind when thinking about Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago? For some, Juve, soca, and rum comes to mind. For others, old mass, calypso, kaiso, and traditional characters comes to mind. Trinidad and Tobago's carnival consists of a variety of cultural activities, but it is best known for parades on the streets where participants dance in elaborate costumes to soca, calypso, and chutney music. Trini Mass or traditional mass is an artistic expression where we literally and figuratively embody our history, motivated by the stories of our ancestors. Mass is a mode of channeling our roots through acting, costume, and music. This skill is not restricted within the borders of Trinidad and Tobago. Notably, we open that same spiritual space for other cultures. For this reason, the works of the mentioned Carnival artists, which I would have mentioned in the following paragraphs, the above paragraphs, Noel Norton and Dean Allen, are significant evidence. How can we talk about Carnival without mentioning Trinidadian Carnival artist Peter Minshall? While it is not part of the exposition, okay, I'll leave that out. Yes. Well, seeing these pieces, I wish I could show you guys the pictures. Seeing these art pieces was a chilling reminder of our amazing history and the phenomenal artistic talent within Trinidad and Tobago. It was a reminder of our diversity, warmth, and acceptance of our cultures. The Frame Shop's intentionally unnamed Carnival exhibition made a bold statement that Trinidad and Tobago and its people are the embodiment of our manifold world. This article, that I hope you guys would read fully, serves as an expression of the gratitude for the works of artists in Trinidad and Tobago, especially those that capture and share the authentic artistic expressions of Carnival. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Selena. And our third and final shortlisted writer is Alexandra Stewart, a 25-year-old poet, teaching artist, and MFA student, again, right here at UWI. Alexandra is a history maker at the first Citizens National Poetry Slam as an 8-time finalist and a 3-time champion. Let's welcome Alexandra.
Thank you so much, Harmony, for that warm welcome. And can we have another round of applause for my fellow shortlistees? All right, so the piece I'm going to share with you. Before I share it, I want to make sure that everyone is fully comfortable. So can you all take a deep breath in with me? Exhale. I'm going to do this like I did with my primary schoolers. When we exhale, let's try to sound like an owl. Deep breath in and out. Good job. Excellent. All right, so this poem is entitled The C Word, and I chose it for today because October is a month where we think very deeply about cancer. We try to raise awareness, we try to remind ourselves that as much as it is just a word, until it comes close to home. At first, it's just a thing that happens to other people. A distant pain, like watching a car run over someone else's foot. Until your little sister asks what color wig she should buy. Until your mother cries in the middle of dinner because a diagnosis ate her appetite. Until you step out of the shower, fingers still soapy, because you think you found something. When they got the news, most patients said that they forgot how to breathe, became just a silent scream and dry heave, and I wish I could wrap a pink ribbon around cancer's throat and show it what it feels like to gasp for air. But cancer has no body. That's why you always find it in someone else's. It has no house. A professional, uninvited guest, a thief, breaking into blood vessel or bone or trying to make a home in the back of a breast. You hear its name and feel your shoulders crumple into chest. So instead, people say the C word. Whisper it like the C word is contagious, like it will catch you and take you captive. The C word is change. The bras that don't fit right, or don't fit at all. The hair clips and bandos and woogies that have nothing to hold on to. The comb whose teeth seem to have suddenly sharpened. the way it bites at your scalp and gulps down hair by the mouthful, what was once full, now barely there, now shaved, now bald, like you balled up in fetal position. The C word is curves, now flattened, now unfamiliar. Your body a landscape reshaped for the sake of survival, but over time, the neighbor who just moved in learns to call their new house home. And you will too. The C word is cartographer. You are a map maker. So when your plans feel like letters in bottles and the future is an ocean that has spit them all back onto shore, I want you to carve a new starting line in the sand. Let hope be your compass. Know that as long as you have seconds to spend, your worst moment is still not the end. And when your world, your entire world, falls apart, the C word is construction, is building back, is wearing head wraps or wigs or nothing, because we don't need your hair. We just need you here. Besides, that beautiful bowling ball makes the people fall over like pins, so strike out in security, because even the strongest chemo can't kill the kind of beauty that lives beyond the body. The C word is companion, the cell phone calls and cuddles. See how many C words can contradict cancer? Like the catharsis that comes from candid conversations about coping, or the comfort of a caress, or when you are compelled to confess the colossal capacity you possess for crushing conundrums. You are cognizant of the coup that corrupt cells have tried to coordinate. But you will fight to cordon off this colonizer, to counter every contraption it contrives. Yes, your body is a city invaded, but your heart is a capital that cannot be claimed. Your smile is a lighthouse that cannot be conquered. You are courage in the face of calamity. So when you feel afraid, remember that cancer cannot kill a memory. So no matter what happens, you will outlive it. The C word is cancer, but it is just one word. And you are a whole book, a collection of chapters. You fill so many pages that cancer cannot swallow you. Because even with all of its teeth, its mouth will never be big enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. We used to afraid Alex when she come in secondary school poetry slam. We used to say, oh gosh, this girl again. And thank you again. Let's give another round of applause to our 3 shortlisted writers. As a fellow young writer, I really look forward to seeing all of your work in all of the years to come. And it truly is a blessing and an honor for us to hear a bit of it today. And I know that we all will go and explore the pieces that you have published after we leave here today. Let's turn our focus to the judges. I am sure it could not have been an easy task shortlisting or going through all of the entries. When I entered, I was just glad Paul Keynes Douglas would I get to read my work. That's all I really cared about. But for this year, our judges were the prize-winning novelist Celeste Mohammed, prize-winning spoken word poet Kyle Hernandez, writer and editor Britt McHugh, and advertising executive and also songwriter Julie Harris. The chief judge, Celeste Mohammed, is out of the country and she sends her regrets, but here to speak on her behalf of the judging panel and announce the winner is Julie Harris. Please welcome her.
Old school paper. It really was quite a challenge. There was when we finally had our first get-together as judges, we said, well, one thing we agreed on was there's a lot of ambition from the people who entered. For me, well, actually for all of us, but different pieces did that. There was a whole different perspective on things that we thought we understood, which is what you want from writers. You don't want to read a book and walk away being exactly the same. You do want to be changed in some way. And we were all changed by different ones. But in the end, after we spoke and we spoke, we came down to the three. And in the end, we were quite unanimous in our selection of the winner. But certainly, and I'm sorry that Celeste could not have been here, but very, very pleased to speak on her behalf and on behalf of the other judges with whom I was privileged to serve. And one thing we want to say is to all the people who were the finalists, the candidates, fantastic job. I think that all of us, we all do right. The idea that you can be that level of ambition, and from some of you who are so young, it's fantastic, and don't stop. If it isn't you this year, next year it could be you. And the range, we've talked about it. It's creative nonfiction, blogging, spoken word. It was everything. And in the end, we were unanimous when we made our selection. So I don't want to detain you any further, because I'm sure you're all like chomping at the bit. Who is it? This year's winner, the winner of the 2023 Bocas Youth Writer of the Year, is Alexandra Stewart. Further, the one that really captivated our attention was their daughter, actually, which pushes past page and stage, and living online and rent-free in the minds of anyone lucky enough to hear or read it. That was one of those paradigm-shifting pieces of writing. So congratulations. And before we present her award, which is waiting for her, we also want to give an honorable mention to Keela Roberts for her creative nonfiction piece, which definitely shifted our perspectives. I think climate change, as you said, is something that we all talk about. And back in the 70s, when people used to take, I come from Jamaica, and they said when the two sevens clashed, the world was going to end. And so when 1977 came, all of us were living in this great trepidation that, as they say in Jamaica, the autoclaps was going to come and mash up the place. But it didn't. But there was this anxiety which, when I read that piece, I remembered what that felt like. Because unlike then, when, things were still pretty green and pristine relative to how they are now, we are seeing it and feeling it, and there's so much information that it must be very hard for a young person to think about, what am I going to grow up? Am I going to survive? Will the world still be here when I get to buy my house or have my family or any of those things that we all take for granted? So it was really quite a paradigm shifter for us. So congratulations to you, Keela. So, and certainly, on all our behalves, I wish to thank Bocas for the opportunity to be involved in this, to serve as a judge. I know that Celeste was sorry that she could not be here. And cheers to a successful festival. And, it was fantastic, and I'll be happy to do it again. So, so congratulations. I think that time has come, young lady. So. Is it stage? Huh? Well, I hope you enjoy this. Because I wish it was mine. I love a pen. Do we have an address from the winner or no?
Thank you. I'm going to start there. I'm going to start with thank you. I'm going to start with congratulations to my fellow shortlisted writers. Hearing your read today made me feel like I was in really great company, so thank you for sharing the space. When I saw the program and I saw that there was going to be allotted time to speak, I said, they will not catch me off guard again because they did at Slam. Unfortunately, however, my speech has fled my head, so you're going to get it straight from the heart. I do want to start with thank you for everyone who has supported me, from family, friends, teachers, online, abroad, in person. I really have a community that listens to me, and when you have people who listen, it's easy to speak, it's easy to share, it's easy to keep at it even when it's very difficult and discouraging. So thank you to all of you. Thank you more than anyone, my God, for this capacity, this gift of writing. Jehovah really has taken me through so much. So the gratitude for that is immense. Hearing our judge representative speak to the poem Dear Daughter really fills my heart, because just on the pre-interview before this event, my new friend, I'm trying to remember her name, radio announcer on Freedom, had asked me the very interesting question, what is one of my favorite poems to perform? And I answered Dear Daughter because it's one of the first spoken word poems I've ever written. I wrote that poem at 16. It hasn't changed since I wrote it then. So to know that it was one of the defining pieces that the judges connected to is extremely moving to both myself today and my 16-year-old self. I really am also grateful to the organizers, to Bocas, to the sponsors, because events like this are just beacons of encouragement for writers to know that as young as you are being listened to, that as young as you are, people are paying attention. And it's just wonderful to be here today, and I'm going to go home happy dancing. Thank you so much for listening to me. Have a wonderful day.
Congratulations, Alexandra Stewart. Now, just before we end this event, we are going to call up Nicholas Laughlin, the Festival and Program Director at Bocas Lit Fest, just to say some final words.
And they will be as brief as I can make them. Good evening, everybody. If my hands are shaking a little bit, it's not that the room is so cold, just that I'm quivering with excitement, right, having just heard the work of these three writers. So I want to add my own congratulations to the winner, to Alexandra, but also to Selena, to Kayla. And as everyone has said, we are looking forward to seeing what is going to come from your pens, or, I mean, maybe in your case, Alexandra, you just got a pen, so literally a pen, but I'm actually sure it's more like what's going to come from your keyboards in the years to come. I also want to just commend all of the young authors who were nominated for this year's award. For me, very genuinely, the most rewarding part of the work we do at Bocas is discovering new literary talent from authors of all ages and at all stages of their writing life. And that's not an accident. It's by design and by intention. You know, 13, nearly 14 years ago, when we had the very first conversation around Marina Solandi Brown's dining table about what this festival could be, we knew from the beginning that we wanted early career writers, new writers, people who didn't know they could be writers, first-time writers, that they were going to be the heart of the festival. And so even in, you know, when we have a festival and we've got world-famous, huge, international, celebrated authors coming from everywhere, they never excite me as much as the new writers who are coming out of our very midst and who are able to share their work on the festival stage for the first time. So we're listening and we're waiting to read what you're going to produce. So we've had an action-packed couple of days here at the NGC Bocas Youth Fest, and as we bring this to a close, I just want to say some thank yous, because everything we do at the Bocas Lit Fest draws on the very generous support of other people, and we need to say thanks. So first of all, thanks to the 4 judges for the 2023 NGC Bocas Youth Writer Award, to Celeste, Kyle, Britt, and to Julie for your careful and your enthusiastic deliberations. And thank you, Julie, for coming and being with us here this evening. Also, Britt, for making the announcement. Thank you, of course, to the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, the title sponsor of this award, of the entire Youth Fest, of the annual NGC Bocas NGC Bocas Lit Fest at the end of April, and who also supports our year-round work in developing writers and readers. The Faculty of Humanities and Education of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus, is another long-term sponsor and partner of Bocas, and we are very grateful that the faculty, via the Department of Creative and Festival Arts, has hosted this year's Youth Fest right here. So special thanks to the Dean of the Faculty, Professor Elizabeth Walcott-Hackshaw, and to Jessel Murray and Joseph Drayton of the DCFA for facilitating us here over the past couple of days. And thank you to Muli Amai, our UWI representative, sitting in the audience, for being a youth debate judge this afternoon, and for generally always being around Bocas, supporting us and helping us. So special thanks to you, Muli. Our work with young people is, as Jean-Claude said, an extremely important part of the mission of the Bocas Lit Fest. And so I also want to take this opportunity to thank 2 additional sponsors of specific programs that are focused on reading and writing development among young people. And they are the J.B. Fernandez Memorial Trust, who are the sponsor of our We Lit Youth Project, now in its 2nd year, and the Scotiabank Foundation, sponsor of Right Away, now in its 3rd year. Alongside the NGC Bocas Youth Fest and Youth Writer Award, these programs both offer free resources, workshops, support for the academic curriculum, a nationwide school tour, all focused on introducing young people to the transformative power of reading and writing, words and stories, and creative self-expression. And of course, none of these programs would be possible without the assistance and the guidance and indeed the permission of the Ministry of Education, so thanks to them. One Caribbean Media, OCM, is of course a sponsor of the annual OCM Bocas Prize, but they are also our year-round media partner, and we need to say a special thanks to them as well for helping us get the word out about the NGC Bocas Youth Fest and all of our other projects and programs, and thanks to all the other members of the media who were sitting at the table in the back and have just departed, just in time to not hear them being thanked. But thank you, members of the media, all media houses, Freedom Radio. It's no point us doing what we do if people don't know about it, and so we're grateful whenever the media shows their support by running the stories. So thanks to all the booksellers and other vendors who have helped make these 2 Youth Fest days so lively and fun. Thanks to the speakers, workshop facilitators, Moko Jumbis, performers, everyone who's shared their expertise and enthusiasm and their talent with our young audience. And of course, I need to say a very big thanks to the people who actually run the festival, the Bocas Lit Fest team, a very interesting bunch of characters. The Youth Fest is very much a collective effort, but it's led by Marielle Forbes, the Bocas Lit Fest Youth and Hospitality Manager, working with Chineri Herbert, a Youth Programs Coordinator, with Dorendra Budram, our Youth Programs OJT, and Jaden Phillip, our Youth Programs Intern. So I think we need to give them in particular a round of applause for everything that's happened over the last couple of days. I also want to single out, she's not in the room to hear me because she's outside doing what she does. I also want to single out our operations manager, Maria Tapin, for her boundless and unflappable energy in making sure every single piece of furniture is where it needs to be and that the hot water is always switched on so that we can make coffee or tea. And thanks, of course, to all the other Bocas team members, whether they're working in public sight or behind the scenes. So Jean-Claude, who you heard from earlier, Shivani Ramlochan, Melvina Hazard, Alette Liz Williams, who's recording me on her phone, Stefan Rampasad, Maria Bleasdale, Dwayne Dubari, Marshall Hazley, Niala Bagwan Singh, our newest team member, and Patrice Matthews. It's a big team. We do a lot. There are a lot of us, but there's a lot of work to do. Thanks to Cedric Smart and his team for the sound engineering, so you can actually hear me talk to you. Thanks to Vincent O'Neill and Impact Media for running the live stream so that people who couldn't be here today can look on from at home. Our graphic designer, Richard Rawlins, our webmaster, James Barber, Maya Ramisa, giving backup to our social media team, and everyone else on the very hard-working team of temporary festival staff and volunteers. I think it's very important to say thanks to all of them. So this is the longest part of my speech, but in some ways it's the most important. And I very much need to say thank you as well, of course, to the Bocas Lit Fest founder and president, Marina Salandi Brown, and our board of directors for keeping the entire organization on an even keel. I can't make out what Alette is trying to tell me, sir. And of course, thank you very much to the Trinidad and Tobago Association for the Hearing Impaired. Those of you watching at home, we can't see it in the audience, live audience, but those of you watching at home can see that we've had sign language interpretation all through this event. So thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. Well, actually what we're supposed to do is, this is what we're supposed to do. Thank you, Alette. Okay, finally, a very, very big thank you to the teachers and the parents and the guardians who have given their support to our young audience to be here for this Youth Fest. And maybe I should include aunts and uncles and older siblings as well, because parents come in all forms. I'm a very hardworking uncle, so I am talking from personal experience. You know, when we talk to the young authors who are nominated for the Youth Writer Award or who are just generally excited about reading and writing, it is almost always the case that parents and teachers help stoke that excitement by encouraging their literary interests. So thank you, parents, teachers. I mentioned the Ministry of Education. Thank you, parents and teachers, for supporting the creative efforts of your children and your students. I certainly believe that you're contributing to a better society for the future. And everybody should be grateful for that. So thanks to all of you for being here. And just before I hand you back to her, a big thanks to our MC, Harmony. I say Farrell, so I don't know what that says about where I come from. Big thanks to our MC, Harmony Farrell, yet another young writer whose future work we're excited to see. Let us thank her as well. And everyone, thanks very much for coming.
Thank you, Nicholas, and thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. This brings us to the very end of the 2023 NGC Bocas Youth Festival. Before we leave, we are going to have a photo up with our nominees, with our winner, with our sponsors, with our Bocas representatives, and right after that, we will meet in the foyer to meet and greet. Again, it was a pleasure joining you this evening, and I hope everybody reaches home safely.